start, can I just say, you know when you watch the State of the Union and Mike Pence says that I drank too much warm milk, sleepy face? I'm developing an appreciation for that because I'm being taped and I have to while everybody else is talking. Hi, my name is Mike Zabel. I am running in the 163rd District. That is a beautiful cross-section of Delaware County. It's pieces of Havertown, a large chunk of Upper Darby, Clifton Heights, and all. I'm running for a lot of the reasons that you'll hear from candidates. Rejection of the Trump agenda, commitment to progressive ideals. I'm also running because I think I'd be the best person for my district at this job. I've been an advocate all my life. For when I grew up as one of 6, and if I wanted attention at the dinner table, I had to be compelling. I was a Latin teacher. I had to compel 7th grade students to listen to me on Monday morning at 8 a.m. I've been a prosecutor and an attorney in private practice. My entire life has been about advocacy. I believe in the power of it to bridge gaps in understanding and to bring people together. The single most important issue in my district is education funding. Upper Darby School District is in my district. It is the 8th largest in Pennsylvania. This year it's projected to have a $13.2 million deficit because Harrisburg does not give it the funds it deserves. That is a failure of the legislature, and it is a failure of the incumbent, Jamie Santora. The single biggest statewide issue, I'm going to echo what Jen, is gun violence. And you know what? I'm disappointed in the governor in accepting just background checks on this because that is not enough. That is an appeasement bill. We need to push for more. We need to push for assault weapon bans. We need to push for high-capacity magazine bans. And that's what I'll fight for. So thank you. Well, we have a pretty extreme legislature in Pennsylvania. And a lot of it is defense. So we'll talk about that first. One of the problems is that the legislators we send from southeastern PA pass themselves off to their constituents as moderates, but they're not. They vote for some abhorrent bills in the legislature, including most recently, and I know because Jen and I have talked about it, that both her opponent and mine voted for that. Yeah, voted for that bill, and it's terrible. So we have to do that. But in addition, we have to bring back protections. We have to bring back protections, ensure that every woman has the right to free contraceptives as part of her health care, not just a matter of reproductive rights. It's a matter of health and basic human rights in terms of access to health care. So those are two really big ones. The legislature of Pennsylvania is more extreme than southeastern Pennsylvania. We need to stop electing Republicans if we want to see that change. There's some really complicated answers to this, but I'll try to put them to a soundbite. One is a deep-seated institutional and structural racism. And number 2 is just old entrenched power. With regards to the structural racism, that's a really complex subject, but you can kind of look at the segregation of suburbs and cities and see how communities are forced into one area or another, and ask yourself, why is it that certain communities always seem to get money and others do not? In terms of the old power, for those of you who are not familiar with the fair funding formula, it's a good formula and it takes into account a lot of economic factors, but it's only applied to the top part of the money. So what happens is there's a bunch of school districts in East Jabip, or Western Jabip, Pennsylvania, never Eastern Jabip, that their student population has been going down and down and down and down and down and down, but they get the same money because their representative has been there for 35 years, and by golly, he's going to get his money. If we implement the fair funding formula all the way, it's just a matter of legislative will. There's no magic. We just need to do it. You need to elect representatives who will do it. I am committed to it because my area is getting the shaft. In terms of other solutions to it, Pennsylvania is the only gas drilling state that does not have a severance tax, which taxes gas drillers. We need one, and we need a robust one, not some mamby-pamby 2% like Tom McGarrigle is now presenting. We need something real. We need to advocate for something serious. Texas is something like 7 or 8%, good old liberal Texas. A severance tax will give us more education funds, so that's another thing that we can do. I had to come a long way on this. I used to be a prosecutor in Philadelphia, and the cases that I handled a lot of were probation violations for drug possession cases, that kind of thing. And when I first started, I was like any good prosecutor. I thought I was supposed to go to the wall and try to get the best thing that I could, the hardest sentence that I could. And as and you see a lot in Philadelphia, you get a high volume, and I came to realize firsthand that criminal justice or prison doesn't solve this at all. It's not a solution. Criminal justice is not where this is going. Looking around the room, I think it's probably a pretty safe bet. We all know somebody who has struggled with this, whether it's ourselves or family members or friends. I think we as a society, it's a really hard one. This isn't a law that we can pass so much as we have to understand. We have to be willing to let people fail a couple times before they get better. It's a hard thing to do. We have to be more tolerant and understand that there are many paths to recovery and beating the opioid addictions in particular. My opponent, to give an example of the wrong way of thinking, he's a well-meaning guy on this. He's going to introduce a bill. There's a Good Samaritan law, which is if you call responders and you OD, you're not going to be prosecuted for drug possession. He wants to force them to go to a clinic when they call that in. But if they don't, what do you think happens? You go to jail. That can't be the stick. Prison can't be the stick for all of our drug addiction and opioid problems. We have to think of this differently and more compassionately. So I never ran for office before, and I learned, or I've discovered quickly, that everybody has advice for you. And campaign professionals, state party people, and they give you things like targets, where you should go for your petitions, what kind of Democrat doors should you knock on. Well, they voted in the last two primaries, and I ignored it. I said, I'm going to knock on every Democrat's door in every district, and the districts I picked out for my petitions, for example, I said, give me the Trumpiest parts, because I want to go in, and I want the Democrats to know they're not alone. And almost to a man or a woman, as I would get there, they go, oh, we need help, there's not that many. And I would show them the sheets. I would bring them with me, which my manager hated, and say, look, you're not alone. There's a lot of you. It's coming. The other thing I think it's really important in this election, I grew up in Delaware County, I grew up in my district, I know how people who live in my area think, and there's always tribalism, but Delaware County residents believe in fairness. That's like the fundamental thing that drives them. And that's true to both Democrats and Republicans. And I don't like to emphasize, I love term PA Blue, but I don't want this to be a tribal thing. I don't want this to be, now it's our turn. I don't want to kick somebody out, but I want to say, look, here's what's going on. This isn't working, and we have ideas. I think that's the message that Democrats and Republicans will feel good about. And that's what we're going to do. Thank you.
Mike Zabel, 2 minutes.
Well, thank you to Delco Indivisible for hosting this. I hope it never gets weird that I'm standing in front of a room of people and they're listening to me. These are my opinions. My family is in shock every day that people do this willingly. Let's talk about 2016. Because Hillary Clinton won Delaware County in 2016. Delaware County has a local office problem, and that hasn't gone away yet. We haven't beaten that yet. What happened in my district, I'll tell you, every statewide Democrat, every national Democrat won the seat, and then people just trailed off and stopped voting. Or they said, oh, this guy goes to my son's Little League games. He's there for a fit representative. We have to have conversations with voters about the people who they elect, and these state representatives, and these state senators. These are the people who are going to make the decisions who affect your lives on a much more immediate level. You've heard the great ideas that they have, but criminal justice reform is going to happen at the state level. Environmental protection is definitely not going to happen at the federal level. It's got to happen at the state level. We need to tell voters, we need to talk to voters, not just the hyper-committed Democrats that we all are, but the people who don't know. Hey, stop voting for that guy because he's a nice guy. He's a maniac. Now, May, you've got some important primaries. If you're outside of my district, and in the congressional, we've got some primaries to choose from. But in November, we need to make this the message. You start at the bottom of your ballot and vote upwards. That's what matters. We need to talk, and I'm saying you like you're getting instructions from me. You ready? I'm going to do it, I promise. But I need your help with that, because we really got to drive that home. You've heard a lot of great ideas here. This is a party of ideas. We're ready to go. But we got to make sure people understand your small, and I mean small, like your small races are the ones that can really make a difference. This is where you go. And I'm counting on you to help us with that, all right? Thank you very much.